Jill Scott says, I'm taking back my freedom. I'm taking it off the shelf. Right now,
Yes.
In this moment that we are living inside of is a moment where those who have lived under a centuries of oppression have reached a boiling point where they can no longer participate in their oppression. And part of the ways in which we have been socialized to participate in that oppression is by holding on to the bitter taste of the effects of racism and discrimination and public humiliation of our people. And so we've learned how to adapt. We've learned how to swallow back the venomous poison of processes that we have faced in order to advance in society, in order to make progress individually, and in order to not offend people who are of the majority class, our white brothers and sisters. And so we've learned how to make accommodations by behaving in a certain way. But this moment is about being able to articulate our truth and our pain as a collective, to spew out the venom that from the corrosive effects of racism that lives inside of our souls, that have caused us to move through our society half free, half fully spoken, half fully expressed. It's so important right now that people like Caryn and I and you start speaking the butt naked truth about the way it is, so that there can be a great awakening. There can be a great awakening on behalf of those who say that they are allies and friends, and our white brothers and sisters who want to move forward in this moment. You see, I cannot be free if you're not free.
Yes.
So I need to be free. I need all of my white brothers and sisters right now to give yourself a little bit of a layering over of thick skin, so that Black people and people of color in this moment can fully express the impact of their pain, and once and for all, as a collective, you can look upon each of us as your equals. I don't want you to sympathize and feel sorry. I want you to allow yourself to make room for your Black brothers and sisters, your beloveds from different backgrounds who are people of color in this country. I want you to make room for their full humanity to be expressed in a moment where unparalleled, unprecedented witness of racialized violence and trauma is occurring. We need to be able to call in Black. Maybe I can't come to work. If you're a supervisor, you know what? I'm gonna let you stay at home. I know you are going through it. I'm not gonna allow the workplace to be another place in which you have to suppress something that's so horrific. And so one of the ways in which we can show our compassion is by really being in tune with the deep pain, the deep woundedness, and allowing people to speak freely and express themselves without all the retaliation and the sensitivities and the stuff that keeps us swallowing the poison.
I'm hearing an echo.
You're hearing an echo? Do
you guys hear echo? Uh-oh.
But I'll turn my volume down if that helps on this side. Okay.
Still, everybody can hear me okay?
I can.
Okay.
You're perfect.
Okay, perfect. We're good. So Lauren is saying it's so overwhelming sometimes. We're fighting tears and having to show up to work. Yes, we are. What's coming to me is resiliency and perseverance and drawing on, and you spoke about this with Reverend Michael Beckwith about our ancestral energy, you know what I'm saying? Like really diving in our DNA codes, the way to move through this. So what do you offer for those of us who are struggling and fighting tears and trying to grant our own mission to exist?
Don't fight your tears. I think that's a part of it. Show your tears. Show it. This is a season to show it. This, and we're all we're all in some way, shape, or form, we've all been traumatized by what we have witnessed. The whole world is aching after the witness of the most inhumane public recording by some powerful cell phone activist who took the chance with his life in order to capture that moment. We're all in tears. Bring those tears to work and find out who your friends are. Find out who your allies are. If they are willing to show that compassion, if they're willing to let you lean on them at this particular time. You need to know who you're standing with and who's standing with you. And we need to start to this true and authentic showing up, showing up in this moment will start to shift the places and spaces where we are invested, our workplaces, our schools, our guiding institutions. So this is not the time to suppress. This is the time to express. And part of that may be that for your own mental health, you know, you may have to call in and say, I can't come in right now. If you want the best, I need a 24-hour mental health break because this is traumatizing me. And there are organizations that exist. We co-founded a group here where we brought together mental health practitioners as well as faith leaders to create what was called Safe Black Space. And Safe Black Space is an environment for individuals of African descent, African American descent, and African descent actually, who may be experiencing racialized trauma. In our case, it started with, you know, Joseph Mann and Stephon Clark and those attacks, and it continues on, and it is flourished all around the state of California, bringing together faith leaders and mental health practitioners to allow a space where you would be able to come and sit and be completely yourself and express what's going on and be moved through a process that's very much African-centered. Okay, there's an African-centered approach. You hear the drummings, the libations. You hear it's a safe space for you to completely be and engage in your healing while having to, you know, get back out there for some of us on the front lines as activists working to dismantle these systems. For some of us going back to work where there's oppressive policies. Those that are in faith communities that still won't recognize and speak loudly, name the racism of our times, and just we're going back to life with business as usual. And so Safe Black Space has a website, and now because of COVID-19, we're having virtual Safe Black Space for people to be able to plug in. And I think the website is safeblackspace.org.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in for the folks. Still hear on my end.
You're doing great. I can hear you perfectly.
Hopefully it's okay. Is it okay?
You're perfect.
Okay. So, Rev Kev, can you guide us on the interpersonal level? Like, what are some of the things that we can do personally to activate and to, like you said, express the feelings, the emotions that are happening right now, so as to help be an opening, if you will, to our own liberation as we seek to have that out in the world?
Well, I think one very simple practice is continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. Become consciously aware of your breath and find moments and places and spaces to actually breathe. When you're viewing and seeing and hearing, when your sensorium is filled with information that traumatizes and stresses you, there's a contraction that takes place in this area where the lungs are, and you start to lose the breath. And of course, in order for us to move forward, we have to constantly be in possession and repossession of the breath. Possession and repossession of the breath. Feeling like you have complete and total control over your breathing. COVID-19 has impacted the breathing, attacking the lungs, right? This is a respiratory issue that's causing us to lose the breath. We witnessed the horrific murder of George Floyd, which took the breath. And so one simple thing that you can manage is I can't manage to handle the entire future. That will cause anxiety. If you're trying to figure it all out for the whole future in this present moment, you're going to create anxiety for yourself. I cannot erase the atrocities from the past. So what can I do? In this moment, I can breathe and I can take it moment by moment. So that's a simple practice I can do at home. I can continue to possess and repossess the breath. And I want to do this on behalf of all of our untimely ancestors who were created as ancestors through racialized violence. I want to be grateful that I can still breathe and then engage at the level of my giftedness, engage at the level of my purpose and my prompting, engage at the level of my willingness. In this cross-country, long-distance, intergenerational relay race.
Yes. Oh, say it again, Rev. Come on now.
This cross-country, long-distance, intergenerational relay race. And then in my silence, I want to ask the presence, what is mine to do? And when you're in possession of the breath, and when you're fully present, and when you have managed to find a place and space for the stillness, you will receive an idea, you will receive an inspiration. And it's not going to look like the next person's. Maybe you will not be out front like me and others leading demonstrations and putting life on the line. That may not be yours to do. But maybe you're going to be in a quiet room and you're going to make sure that those demonstrators who need legal aid you're going to be the one in touch with the National Lawyers Guild, making sure demonstrators are receiving the legal aid that they need. Maybe you're going to be a strategist in behind the scenes in this conversation. Maybe you're going to impress upon your supervisor or the person, the owner of the business where you work, to acknowledge what's going on in some significant way, such that the policies around diversity and inclusion, right, are not just ornamental to the operation. They are making significant responses and efforts toward changing in meaningful ways. And so it doesn't look all the same. I call it the beehive approach. If you look at bees going in and out of the hive, they're coming in from all sides. That this system that has oppressed Black people in the United States has also oppressed whites, because whites and those who are under the illusion that because of their skin color that they're somehow superior can never truly have authentic relationship and with others. If I truly feel that somehow you can never be where I am. And so this whole thing is to be attacked from all sides, such that it coagulates any opportunity for it to defend its erroneous position.
I'm taking a moment because I'm really taking in what you're saying, and we're bearing witness to something that is hugely transformational and profound and unprecedented. Going to COVID and the breath, and literally the one thing that connects us all, no matter what your hue or where you occupy space in the world, it's the breath. And Akachi Lamb, who is a dear friend of mine and a man of true wisdom and depth, is saying, we are the sacrificial lambs of our generation, making the sacrifice to realign your lineage, which is interesting. What are your thoughts on that in terms of our lineage as a people,
Yes.
in the diaspora, and then as a race, as a human race.
I think at this particular time, what is different about now than was in the early 60s and some previous movements is that we're more connected than ever before, and more Black and white people have come to belong to each other. We hold people in our hearts in significant ways. This present generation has found each other, and they're mobilizing on behalf of each other. And so the sacrifice is really ideological. At this present time, we are having an ideological sacrifice of an ideal that says it's all about me, versus the embracing of this larger ideal that it's we. So
it's all about we. Yes.
Versus I am, I think therefore I am. We are evolving past I think therefore I am, and this rugged individualistic idea, I got mine, you get yours, pull yourself by your own bootstraps, and that old westernized philosophical construct that is rooted in the values of competition over cooperation. We're sacrificing that. We're sacrificing that old ideal, and we're elevating into this higher ideal, one that says, I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. As Dr. King articulated in his letter from Birmingham City Jail, he talked about the fact that we are bound in a web of mutuality. We are clothed in a single garment of destiny. This idea brings up values that are very distinct and different from the ones. And so we have to put those individualistic, selfish values on the altar of sacrifice, and then embrace these higher ideals of the greater good for all concerned, co-creating a world that works for all. We don't want to make we don't want to create a better world, because better is always subjective. Better leaves others out. Better to whom? Better to white supremacists? See, creating a better world for white supremacists widens the wealth gap, does it not? Widens the wealth. A better world is not the paradigm that we want, because it's all competitive. But co-creating a world that works for all, that coin was termed by Sharif Abdullah. Co-creating a world works for all is inclusive, and it is integrated in the highest sense, and it's the values of Ubuntu, this concept from South Africa. And so that's what needs to be sacrificed.
Interestingly, what our ancestor Reverend Mandela used Ubuntu, the concept of forgiveness. Is it too soon for forgiveness? Are we at that place yet? Do we need to honor where we are and deal with the pain and the mess and the hurt and the rawness? Or what are your thoughts on that?
By the way, one of the great joys of my life is actually having the opportunity to meet President Mandela in 1999. And in his beautiful eyes. And Reverend Michael and I shared that experience together with faith leaders from around the world, Parliament of the World's Religions. And I looked into his eyes after having spent 27 years in prison fighting for the liberation of people in South Africa. And my distinct feeling in looking in his eyes and witnessing the soft eye that he had. His eyes were not dim. His eyes were not dim. No, it is never too early to forgive. But let's be clear. This is a protest, not a parade. We are consciously aware that in order to change.
That was so profound, Rev. Say it again, please. This is not a protest.
Not a parade.
Yes.
So that the spirit of what's happening is not one where we're going out with floats and cotton candy and high-fiving each other along the way. We are consciously engaged in a rebellion against a system that has oppressed us for hundreds of years. And so if you are thinking that in this moment that you want to embrace some of the bright spots along the way, and think that it's over, right? So we're seeing images, that beautiful images of law enforcement officers taking a knee. Beautiful. Yes. We're seeing demonstrators hugging law enforcement officers and law enforcement officers hugging demonstrators. Beautiful. But this is about freedom, not friendship. This is about freedom, not friendship. So along the way, the object is everybody's freedom, the liberation, the freedom of our people. And so let's not have a high moment and think that we have unseated a system that has perpetuated for generations. We're not we're not here just for George Floyd. We're still mourning Emmett Till, who never received justice. You get what I'm saying? So this is a
and Ben and Jerry spoke to that, Rev, and I wish I had the clip. If you guys get a chance, look at the tweet from the company Ben and Jerry Ice Cream, and they talk about that this is for the Trayvons and for the Floyds and for the Emmett Tills, but it's more than that. It's for the names we don't know, for the ones that weren't recorded, for the souls lost in the
transatlantic, those that have died, whose bodies are fertilizer for the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Let's recognize. So if you have a sweet moment, because there's something beautiful about being caught up in a sea of humanity, and I love what I'm seeing in this present movement. It is an intercultural, intergenerational movement of people from all races and hues and colors. And for many, it's their first point entering into this conversation toward freedom, this journey toward freedom. Please know you're not attending a parade. You are participating in a rebellion that is the primary obstacle to freedom of the entire human household. Because as the United States goes, so goes the world. You see? And I think that if we're going to be distributing anything from these United States that can be an inspiration to the world, is to show our resolve in this moment, and be unrelenting in our commitment to deconstructing and dismantling and disrupting all forms of racism, discrimination, and policies and practices and false relationships that are rooted in keeping individuals oppressed. We're outgrowing this. We are absolutely outgrowing. We have, and what I'm seeing is this spontaneous combustion of human courage that's happening right now. This spontaneous combustion of human courage to take to the streets in an unprecedented way is the tipping point in our evolutionary process as humans on this planet. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing.
I think we all are seeing and feeling that, even if we don't have the language to articulate it. Last week, I spoke to my guest, Tammy Mack, and I talked about being a distribution site of freedom. Distribution site of inspiration, that we all are our own individual distribution sites. And what you're talking about, what I'm hearing on a collective level with the United States of America, United States of freedom, that we can be that distribution side of freedom, mirroring what's possible for the rest of the world, so that Black and brown peoples and all oppressed peoples, whether it's your sexual orientation or wherever you're oppressed and marginalized, that we open up a consciousness and a space for the full flowering of our humanity. And that's really what this boils down to. That's what these conversations are, personally, interpersonally. And those are the seeds that would then flower out in the world and shift the type of world that we're co-creating with each other. So, I'm at a pause, Rev Kev. I'm at a pause.
And it's so important for our white brothers and sisters in this moment who are feeling a certain kind of way about how to engage, how to move into this place and space. In this moment, embrace what Dr. King said. You only need a heart full of love and a soul generated by grace. And I know you have that. I know we all have that. But especially those who have this feeling of, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to be guilty. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to be labeled a racist. I don't want to be labeled an in lover, and all of those things that come along with breaking out of what we know to be a dying world that is being hospiced, as Reverend Michael would say, by
I love that.
I call the gladiators of justice. And so you want to come into this Justice League of gladiators who are willing to let their love show up. And it's messy. It's messy work. There's no neat and tidy way to dismantle something that's had reign for 500 years, but it's possible.
I agree. And I'm going to put this up here for us because Sharice brought up a good point. We need to heal as people before we can talk forgiveness. I know you addressed healing, but this is something that's very real and present for a lot of people. So I just want to make sure we're giving space and allowing for that.
We're not forcing anybody to engage in forgiveness talks. That's not the work that I'm speaking of. The forgiveness is something that I do for myself so that I can maintain sanity. Jesus did it. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It is the discharging of the poison from your own being. I let go of the poison. I don't choose to hold on to this poison hoping that they would die. So the unforgiveness is holding on to a poison, hoping that someone else will die because you've taken the poison. So forgiveness is the discharging of your need to hold the poison.
And that applies to, well, let me ask you, does that apply to white people also who may be feeling a sense of guilt and shame, consciously or unconsciously? Does that apply for them also?
I think absolutely. I think that whites also need to forgive themselves, but also move into position to act out that forgiveness. Act out. Let me give you a case in point so that you see what I'm talking about. Because this stuff has real world application. Part of my South Africa trip, I had the opportunity to also participate in an event with Ela Gandhi, Gandhi's granddaughter, and a young man, his last name is Verwoerd, can't remember his first name, but Verwoerd or Verwoerdie, whose grandfather was the architect of apartheid. And of course, as the grandson of the architect of apartheid in South Africa, he was certainly a beneficiary of all the privilege that comes with living in a world that is based on white supremacy and Black inferiority. And so the minute he had an opportunity to get free, he made it his life's work to dismantle everything that his grandfather put in place. And so on that panel, he was sitting with the granddaughter of Gandhi. And as you know, Gandhi was outside of his own issues. We don't want to bring all that up.
Right.
Gandhi ultimately was instrumental in leading a movement that liberated India from Europe, right?
Right.
And so, but there were effects remaining in South Africa that the grandson had said, you know what, I can't live inside of the guilt, but I am going to advance this truth forward, and I'm going to use my life and my voice to deconstruct, to make forgiveness not merely an ideological concept and this private thing that I did with myself. You're going to see my forgiveness turn into acts of repentance, acts of truth and reconciliation, acts of reparation. All of these things are how you show that you wish to be forgiven for these acts. And so the young man was sitting with Ela Gandhi in doing that work together. So I think that potential rests. There are whites who know that their families, the wealth of their families came directly from slave labor, that you can trace the companies and the banks that exist today, that whose wealth was amassed through holding slaves, and how trust funds are based out of some of the dirtiest money that could have been created on the planet. All right, now that you're a beneficiary, what are you going to do in order to transmute the legacy that was ill-gotten into something that will be productive for humankind?
Yes.
And so that's what many of our white brothers and sisters can be thinking about in this moment. How does forgiveness look, and how does it translate into moments like this? There's nothing like a white son or daughter walking into a room where their powerful father or mother who holds tremendous influence, and they make some demands. Remember the Children's March? Okay. Little white kids got together and said, y'all don't want to stand for it? I'm not going. And they took it on, and they made influences with their parents and their grandparents and generations who are stuck in the old paradigm. And so that's the beauty of it.
And the old paradigm also is an over focus upon the destruction of property and businesses, which obviously is horrific for many. But again, it's placing the value of things and material over the value of a human life, particularly a Black and brown one.
What I say to those individuals who are tone policing right now, that's what we call tone policing, telling the oppressed how to act out their oppression. So you're telling someone who has historically lived with the societal knee on neck, that's been the relationship, who is now seeking to be liberated from that condition. You're saying, here's how it ought to go.
Exactly.
Don't join in with that. That form of tone policing. That is another subtle form of white supremacy.
Absolutely.
It is about people, not property. It is about people, not property. I tell you what, here's the deal I make with those that make those statements. You bring me my people back. You bring me my people back. You bring just one of them back, and I'll start talking about property. But until you can restore the lives that have been stolen, I don't want to hear about your property at all. That's not my business. Have nothing to do with my freedom or the freedom of us as a people, as a whole humanity. Our priorities are thrown off. Bring one back. Bring one back. So what I want to hear from my white counterparts is, oh my God, I don't even know. It's horrible that they did that to that. They murdered that man in plain sight. I stand with you in your grief, your deep grief and pain around seeing what happened. Don't talk to me about rioters. I don't want to hear about that. That is a distraction from this journey across time for people who have been crying out for freedom for over 500 years. So it's not about property. It's never about property. That's a distraction. That's an adaptation and adoption to language. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., when we lift up his nonviolent direct action strategies, he was never concerned with that. He had a philosophy in moving forward violently, but he did not stop. I heard someone say, why don't you stop those individuals? Why don't you have the protesters to stop the provocateurs from looting and rioting?
Right.
So we're going to add another tax to the oppressed.
Exactly.
As they seek and to pursue that's not their role right now. Their role is to continue to call out for freedom and to correct and right age-old wrongs, not to be distracted in the thick of thin things. The thick of thin things. This is about the transformation of humanity as we know it, starting here in the United States and then distributing this consciousness throughout the planet.
Yes.
And I believe it's possible. I wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't believe it was possible.
And I think every ounce of what you're saying is resonating with all of us on a deep, deep level. Lauren has something that she wanted to express. My white friend asked me to make her understand how I feel. After explaining as much as I could, I told her, now that you have the knowledge, go and tell your people, fix what you can, and use your platform to change your peers, which is a great sentiment, because I was in conversation, interestingly, with another African-American woman on Instagram, and I wish I would have connected with her more, because she was essentially upset at a white woman who said, I want to understand, I want to learn more, I want to research, I want to understand. And I applauded that. I actually thought that was a step in the right direction. This particular woman felt as if, well, you've had, a lot of time to understand, and it's not on me to teach you, so go off and do it yourself, which I get that too. So, and look, I understand that Black people and people of color are exhausted. These are things that we live with in our soul and in the depths of who we are. So it's exhausting to teach. And I'm also, I thrive in sunlight, and I like to water and nurture what's present. And I saw an earnest desire to know. So that was my choice at that time. And I'll continue to do so as long as I have the emotional bandwidth to do it. But I just wanted your thoughts on that too. I think that was Lauren's point. What do we say? Is it on us to teach and help them, or is it now their turn to pick up the baton of racial?
All of my comments today have been brought to you by love. I want to start so that everybody can, white, Black, and every other
right.
expressing, all of them have been brought to you by love. This is the core out of which I speak. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a context. I was doing a Black History service here at Unity of Sacramento. We're literally in the International Sanctuary. I can't show much, but I love it. On this campus, and I have a diverse and integrated congregation, very reflective, like the UN, and the reflective of the population here in Sacramento. So we're very diverse. And I have several white teachers at the time who I wanted to participate in the Black History celebration. And so I called them in. I said, okay, so each week in Black History Month, we're going to lift up a powerful avatar and luminary and exemplar of African American history. And I want each one of you to take on one of those and be prepared to make a presentation on Sunday morning. And the room just got cold. It's like, whoa. And somebody had the audacity to ask the question. Well, Rev Kev, wait a minute. How are the Black people going to feel? Should that be ours to do? Should it be ours to do the report on the Black history and Black History Month?
Wow.
And I leaned in. I said, that you have a problem with that speaks to the fact as to why you must do it. We've been doing reports on Abraham Lincoln and Sir Isaac Newton and everybody on the planet who is not Black. Our entire education is rooted in that. It is time to normalize excellence. And so, yes, educate yourself. Educate yourself. Empower yourself. It's something you can do. Get a reading list. Find out about Black studies. Understand the struggle that we're moving. This is something you can do with all of the access to information that's available today. Absolutely educate yourself so that you can speak the language. That's all culture is access to language.
Yes.
Language.
Yes.
And I can't speak the language if I don't study. We have had to, in this country, be bilingual and trilingual just to survive. I know how to speak in such a way in order to have acceptance in this room and in the next room. We call it code switching. I think you were saying that. Have you learned code switch? Have you learned code switch so that you can connect to the heartbeat of your Black brothers and sisters? This is something that you can do for free. So yes, in addition to, I want you to just unpack it for you, beloved white brothers and sisters. In addition to, fighting for our freedom. Okay, we got that to work with.
Right.
In addition to trying to fit into a society that has systemically said that what we look like, the way we appear,
yes,
makes us somehow second class citizen or inferior. In addition to that, in addition to the battles that we have around income inequality and all the other struggles, and then watching racialized trauma, in addition to that, you also want us to stop and now educate you on how to relate to us.
Whew.
It might be a bit much because this is clearly something you can do for yourself. You know how I know? Because we've had to do it. Our
entire existence, yes.
Our entire sojourn on these shores. And you know, when Black people are together and we talk to each other, we don't talk the same way that we talk when we are talking around you.
You don't, and you know, I'm more conscious and mindful of that. You know, I'll talk with a little slang that I'll talk, or I won't have ing, and I'm embracing that. Like, you know what, I can show up how I show up in this world.
And Asian Americans don't do it, and Latino Americans don't do it. We all have this duplicitousness. But this moment that we're in right now is calling for us to show up 100%, no holds barred, out loud as we are, because this is self-liberation. And when I can liberate myself, being totally free to be me in whatever space I find myself in, I start cracking the historical framework.
Yes.
Keeps us suppressed and oppressed, and it liberates everybody else. It's like taking the bra off.
Oh. Yes. Let it go.
Take it off. Thanks. Hallelujah. It's me.
The topic, Rev Kev, your mission doesn't need permission. Our mission as a people, we no longer need permission. We don't need it individually. We don't need it culturally. We don't need it for humanity. And there's space for all of us. So yes. That's
it. And it's all right. And guess what? I'm still gonna love you.
Yes.
I'm still gonna be there. I'm gonna still be me. And you don't have to be afraid of my anger. You don't have to be afraid of my raw emotion. That's not my anger has nothing to do with your set of emotions. It has to do with how I'm processing a very challenging situation, a very oppressive situation. Okay. Now, if we love each other, we're in a relationship, you want to reach out and you want to support me through it in the same way that I would do for you, because this is called being fully human. It's called, that's all it is. And that we have the PhD in this, it's thanks to you. It's thanks to you. But it's not that we wanted this. We would want the honorary doctorate in this.
Right.
You know, we would want the earned doctorate in suffering and oppression.
Right.
This.
Right.
So it just so happens that we got more lived experience, but this is an American issue. It's never been our issue. It's never been ours.
I mean, in the DNA
of a set of conditions that were created. Yes. And those that created it have a great responsibility, especially in this moment, to uncreate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a deep call, deep upon deep, calling upon itself to heal it, which is why you see our brothers and sisters, various hues and orientations coming together, because it's transcendent of the skin color and the melanin, the pigmentation. It goes to the heart and soul and the spirit of what it is to be a spiritual being wearing these human earth cases that we're wrapped in, expressing and engaging and dialoguing with each other. So the time is now. We have a couple of comments. Are there some questions for Rev Kev? Lauren said, this is true, but that time is no more, Lauren. We have always made to feel like we must mute ourselves. Absolutely. That's part of the permission. We don't need it.
I want to just offer this thought for our white brothers and sisters and our Black brothers and sisters and people of all races. And here's what I want to share. I want you to assume that you can handle the truth. You can handle the truth, and you must handle the truth, because in this moment, we're not going to stop speaking the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You can handle the truth. And maybe that becomes your new mantra. I can handle the truth. I can handle truth. Because our job is to speak our truth in this moment in an unrelenting fashion and make demands accordingly. Your job is to also receive truth and act in accordance with the truth that you now know, for the elevation and the evolution of humanity. Period. For all of our freedom.
I love that. And I want to punctuate something as we wind this down. Actually, my battery life is dying. Kachi has something that's really powerful here. And he's saying Jewish people say never forget. People have to forward forgiveness, but never forget. Remember, the system is an engine designed to depress and devalue melanated people. We must solidify who we are as people in entertainment and all sources of media. If the dynamics of the American construct don't change, we will be fueling the same engine that has throughout history oppressed us.
And I completely understand that sentiment, and I want to ask my brother from the Jewish community to get on the line in this moment and leverage your history, leverage your brothers and sisters in this moment to start rowing this boat so that we can crack the back of this system that we are so convinced cannot be broken down. We have witnessed historically civilizations rise and fall, and we're in the moment. If we come together, we do not have to believe the hype. We don't have to believe the hype anymore. When we're all woke, when we're all consciously awake and rowing in the same direction toward our freedom. See, it's going to be white folks' freedom as well. It's going to be everybody's freedom. But we have to believe that. We have to believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that that is possible. And so I want us to come out of our little enclaves and our little ways in which we lock ourselves apart from each other. I want you to come and call your Jewish community to the front lines in this, especially because you understand what this pain is. You know it uniquely. Let's lean in together. We've always done it together. Let's do more of this work together. It's our time.
It is definitely our time. My mother, I think she put this comment a while ago. I'm just now seeing it. Who we love, Rev Kev. No relation, y'all. Until you resurrect a life, you cannot compare the loss of life with the loss of property. Yes, and that's the kind of the theme that is undergirding all of this, that we have value here, and we're not asking for permission. We are going forth, as I said, liberating ourselves, and none of us are free until all of us are free. So I just want to end, because I think we can wrap it up. This has been such a soul-fulfilling conversation with the meditation. I don't know if your tea's still hot, Rev Kev, but this conversation certainly is.
It's about lukewarm. I got a sip left. It made it.
I heard you say really hit me in my spirit when you talked about the untimely ancestors through racialized violence. And I just want to end in honoring Floyd and all the names that we know and that we don't know, because that's really what we're calling upon, that ancestral wisdom and history that I think is, in my opinion, is guiding this moment, and ultimately will be our transformation and our healing. So I don't know if you have a final thought on that, and you guys drop your last questions or comments for us before we wrap out. But as you've been feeding us, I just love your thought on that.
I just want everyone, as we move through this moment, to always envision those ancestors. who have been lost and created by racialized violence. I want you to feel their presence, leaning over the balconies of eternity, standing as witnesses to this moment and cheering us on into our greater becoming. Those of African descent, those of Jewish descent, those of Indian descent, those of Asian descent, those of Native American descent, those ancestors peek over the balconies of eternity, cheering us on in this moment, rooting for us, and they are the wind at our backs, never absent from us. Their power is transmuted into our resilience. And behold them with us as the wind beneath our wings, as we take on the battles that lie ahead. That's my thought. If we can just see that.
Whew. T dropped. That is everything. I felt that. I feel that. I hope that you all do as well. This has been such a powerful and timely and needed conversation, Rev Kev. I'm so grateful to you for answering the call. When I called you up, I said, Rev, I need you. And I think we all needed this, for you to speak and give voice to something we all know in the very core of our DNA as humans. And there she is. There's Audrey Harris. She said, this was a great show.
Thank you, beloved.
Cherie said, awesome. Love this. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Akachi, I was trying to find a comment that you made. That might be part 2. We're going to have to do part 2 of this, Rev Kev, okay?
Find the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you wanted to say as we sign off?
I just want everybody to know that you are enough, just as you are. You're already equipped with what you need for this moment. You and I decided to show up at this particular time in human history for such a time as this. And as we catch a vision of a world that works for all, as we catch vision, the Spirit will make provisions. Trust that. Trust that. Lean in it like never before. Play your part so that future generations will be talking about other things. We're talking about the obsolete world that their parents discarded and the path that we opened up so that they can explore the outer space. They can explore, conversations from the vantage point of their giftedness. It's our time. It's go time. Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you, Rev Kev. Thank you, everyone. Please share this far and wide. Thanks to those who'll be watching this on the replay. I'm so moved. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Rev Kev.
You got it.
I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Big hugs, big hugs for you.
I'm going to follow my Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to put all of Rev Kev's information there because he has a lot to say and share. So thank you. All righty.
Peace and blessings, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Can't wait to see you all again. Big hugs, big hugs. Give Mom my love. I will. My mom just made a comment. So we'll sign off because we could do this all day. But all right. Catch the vision, the Spirit will make provision. Absolutely. Bye, you guys. See you next time. All right.